Hi, I'm Maria, the Long-Term Projects Committee Head of Solace. So I joined Solace because a lot of women's issues happen during high school or our teenage years, yet we don't know how to approach it or talk about it properly because there's a lack of information that is accessible, or even if it is, it's really hard to understand or digest. And also, there's a lack of a space where we can talk about it without the fear of being hated on or being threatened. So when I first learned about Solace through Bianca, and I joined a meeting headed by Ate Iya and Ate Julia talking about what Solace is, what their future plans are, I learned that one of their objectives was to create a safe space where victims can tell their stories and share their experiences safely, and where people can have healthy discussions surrounding it without the fear of being hated on or being harassed. So that made me really happy kasi it aligned with the frustration I mentioned kanina. And that made me excited to be a part of this committee and become a core member. So I stayed in Solace because of the people or the core. Core has always been really welcoming in talking about these issues and having discussions, which really broadened my perspective because I learned that other people understand or interpret these issues in a different way than I do. And core has always been really there for each other. Na na we always have each other's backs, and you can always ask someone for help and vice versa, which makes working in Solace a very fulfilling experience. So I started becoming an advocate for feminism and sexual harassment awareness because dati whenever I tried to talk to people about these issues, more often than not, it gets dismissed. Sasabihin na, oh, it's normal, it happens to everybody, or kasalanan niya, bakit kasi siya nakasuot ng ganito? And it's really frustrating how rare it is to have these healthy discussions out of hindi digestible or hindi accessible yung information about these, or there is no safe space to have healthy discussions. And joining Solace has been a way to help create a safe space where victims can safely and freely tell their stories, and where people can talk about these in a respectful manner so that it benefits everyone. So, long-term projects. So, what exactly do we do? So, we implement projects that align with Solace goals and objectives, and it can last up to weeks, 2 months, or even the whole school year. So, we basically do a lot of planning and logistics, and most importantly, we do a lot of engaging with the community. And it's not in a way na, oh, maraming umattend dito sa monthly activity na to. Pero, it's more of after they attend it, they learn something new or they gain more insights, and they use this to talk to other people, to have discussions, so that everyone's perspective about women's issues are broadened. And by doing so, we hope to inspire people to listen to the victims or the people who have experienced these issues and to talk about it in a respectful way so that it benefits everyone. And by doing so, our school won't just be a school, pero a community where everyone feels included and safe.
Hi, I'm Mika, and I'm the Short-Term Projects Committee Head of Solace. So, I joined Solace because I believe that women empowerment and sexual harassment awareness and intervention in the high school setting, both online and in face-to-face, is really important, and it's something that we should be able and more willing to talk about. So when Ate Iya and Ate Julia sent me a message about being invited to the pitch meeting of Solace, and I read through what this committee aimed to do, it immediately clicked with me because it aligned with my values and what I wanted to do. And I believe that it was an opportunity that I wouldn't miss for the world. I thought that it would be a great opportunity for me to use my voice and my platforms to empower women and victims of sexual harassment in Pasay, since that's exactly what the committee aimed to do. I was and will continue to be very passionate about this topic, and I wasn't going to let that passion remain untouched and repressed in my thoughts. I wanted to put that into words and into action. So I joined Solace. So actually, when they asked us if we wanted to be core members, my initial plan was to back out and instead become a regular member. Kasi ayun, I was one of the youngest students. I'm actually currently the youngest member. I'm from batch 2026, who were tapped to join Solace, and I had no org or club experience at all. This was the first ever extracurricular I joined in Pisay, let alone became a member of its core team, which is really pressuring for me. I knew naman that I had the passion and the motivation to go on, but I had doubts on my ability to handle the workload because of my lack of experience and exposure. But then I remembered that this is a committee and I can turn to any of the other members if ever I do struggle or run into a problem. Plus, I realized that my lack of experience didn't really matter. Well, it matters, but I knew that I could learn and grow in this continuous journey. So, ayun, I came to the conclusion that my passion would be greater than any doubts I had. So, I decided to stay in Solace and be a core member. And I'm really glad I did because the ates in Solace are some of the best people you could ever meet in Pisay. Like, I swear. Ayun. Okay, so my advocacies are human rights and equality, women empowerment, sexual harassment intervention, gender equality, and others like better healthcare and good governance. So I became an advocate for women's rights and sexual harassment intervention because, and I noticed this since I was younger, but honestly, the sexist and misogynist culture and the fact that sexual harassment is normalized in the Philippines is really infuriating to me. Why do women keep being belittled, mistreated, and subjugated to this unjust treatment? Why should our voices be silenced? Well, actually, let me rephrase that. Why are our voices silenced when we have just as much of a right to speak out as the other people in the community? I'm not a misandrist, okay? I'm so sorry if I worded that badly. But all I wanted to say was I want to take part in abolishing that misogynist mindset and instead empowering women and sparking change. And I think that Solace really gave me and a few other fellow advocates a medium to do that. My advocacies are mostly concerning social change in humanity, focusing on doing what we can as individuals and as a community to promote equality amongst everyone and empower every single member of the community. My desire to promote equality and empower people is related to why I joined Solace. I really want to be able to do these things within the Pisay community. I want to be able to make a difference and bring these issues to light so we can be able to know what we can do to help. Okay, so about my committee, short-term projects, we facilitate, manage, and execute short-term projects and activities to consistently educate and engage with the Pisay community. It's also important to note that it isn't a standalone or independent committee. I mean, no committee in Solace is. But I just wanted to add that it works frequently with long-term projects, SOCMAD, and ResNDev to be able to achieve all its objectives. So, by doing all these, short-term projects will be able to engage with and educate the community on the impact of the relevant issues that are prevalent not only in contemporary society, but also within the Pisay community itself. We want to be able to connect with and listen to all the women and sexual harassment victims out there, and we want to inspire and encourage every other member of the Pisay community to do the same. To empathize with these victims and value their emotions, experiences, and stories, to engage in healthy discourse surrounding women's issues, and most of all, to establish safe spaces within the Pisay community to make every single member feel a sense of belonging, love, and solace.
Hi, I'm Julia, and I'm the executive head and co-founder of Solace. So why did I start Solace? I started Solace because of Bottled Up. After Bottled Up and the suicide that happened, I felt devastated. I felt angry, and I felt the sense of urgency that something needed to change. Because his issues happen here, at school, online, at home. They happen in places we thought we'd be safe in. So there's a need to protect and advocate for that safety, and that's what Solace is here for. It's empowering. Being around people who care about the things that matter most to you. It gives off this aura, this electricity that stays with you. And besides that, it's just fun. It's fun being in a healthy environment, in a supportive one, where culture or trust is built on care and not on how much you achieve. I also feel that the pressure to lead well or to launch well doesn't torment me anymore, because I know that there's this family na sasalo sa akin. I don't need to be afraid anymore. Ever since I could remember, I always defined being an advocate as the core of my identity. So during class, especially if we talked about sexual harassment, I would cry. I would need to take a step back because it's just too much for me. It just matters too much for me. So yeah, the sensitivity and the emotion, it was there from the start. And it was just a matter of time until I met advocates, until turning points like Bottled Up happened, where I finally came out of my shell and lived up to that person I always knew I was.